What happens when those entrusted to protect the most vulnerable in our communities become the very people who harm them? Today, we're discussing a deeply troubling case that has rocked the world of televangelism and raises serious questions about accountability, transparency, and the protection of children in religious institutions. In this video, we need to talk about a case that's been making headlines: the conviction of James Randolph, the son-in-law of prominent televangelist Mark Barclay. This isn't just another scandal. It's a story that highlights systemic issues within certain religious organizations and the devastating impact on survivors of ABUSA. Let me start with the facts. James Randolph, 59, was convicted on Friday on all 6 counts of criminal SA conduct. We're talking about 2 counts of first-degree criminal SA conduct, which involves penetration and carries a potential life sentence, and 4 counts of second-degree criminal SA conduct, which can result in up to 15 years in prison. The victim, now in her late 20s, testified that Randolph SA'd her for approximately 6 years, beginning when she was in 6th grade. According to her testimony, she lived in Randolph's house starting in 2012, and the ABUSE continued until she moved out in 2018. Here's where this gets particularly disturbing. Randolph wasn't just some random person. He held a position of authority at Living Word Church in Midland, Michigan, founded by Mark Barclay. The victim testified that Randolph was her youth pastor, someone her parents and community trusted implicitly. Think about that for a moment. This young girl was placed in the care of someone who was supposed to guide her spiritually, protect her, and be a positive role model. Instead, she endured years of abuse and felt she couldn't speak out because of his position of power and influence. Now, here's what really concerns me about this case: the response from Mark Barclay and the church leadership. Rather than taking full accountability and expressing genuine remorse for the systemic failures that allowed this to happen, we see what appears to be damage control and minimization. Mark Barclay posted on Facebook, attempting to distance the church from Randolph's actions, saying, "The recent legal case involving James Randolph has been a very difficult and heartbreaking situation for our church family and community. We respect the legal process and the verdict returned by the jury. For clarity, Mr. Randolph was not the pastor of Living Word Church, nor was he ever the head of our youth, children's, or nursery ministries. Additionally, the criminal conduct in question did not occur on church grounds or during church functions. We recognize that this situation has caused real pain for many. As a church community, our hearts are with all victims of abuse. We are committed to truth, accountability, and safety in our ministries. We continue to ask for the community to join us in prayer for all who have been affected by this case." Dr. Mark T. Barclay. But here's the problem with that response. It completely misses the point. Whether or not it happened on church property is irrelevant. The ABUSE happened because Randolph was in a position of trust and authority that the church gave him. The victim herself said she couldn't report the ABUSE because of his role as her pastor. What makes this even more troubling is the contradictions in the church's narrative. In 2023, Randolph himself told Michigan State Police that he had been involved with youth ministry at the church for 30 years. Josh Barclay, Mark's son and associate pastor, admitted that Randolph had some oversight over the youth, and even called him one of our ministers on staff as recently as March 2024. So which is it? Was he minimally involved, as they're now claiming, or was he a minister on staff with youth oversight for 3 decades? These contradictions raise serious questions about the church's credibility and its willingness to be transparent about this situation. Perhaps most disturbing of all is that this isn't an isolated incident at Living Word Church. Randolph previously served time in prison for the gang rape of a 15-year-old girl in the 1980s. Let that sink in. This man had a history of SA, yet somehow found his way into a position of authority over young people at this church. But wait, there's more. Randy Saylor, an associate pastor at the church, faces 15 charges of second-degree criminal SA conduct involving 2 victims. His son Brandon, a church elder and volunteer, was sentenced to 5 to 15 years in prison for SA crimes in April 2024. We're not talking about one bad actor here. We're looking at what appears to be a pattern of predatory behavior among church leadership. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible courage of the survivor in this case. She endured years of trauma, then had to relive that trauma in court, facing cross-examination that questioned her credibility and attacked her character. The prosecutor noted that she had to testify for over 6 hours, being forced to recount the most painful experiences of her life in front of strangers.
She knew what she was up against: the first family, the church, calling out James Randolph, the head of youth ministries and children's services for over 30 years. But when she realized that other people were victims too, and maybe she wasn't the only one, that hurt her. She felt bad.
This is why so many survivors of ABUSE never come forward. The legal process can be almost as traumatic as the original ABUSE. Yet she persisted, and because of her bravery, a dangerous predator is now behind bars. This case raises fundamental questions about how religious institutions handle background checks, accountability, and child protection. How does someone with a conviction for gang rape end up in youth ministry? What safeguards were in place? And why, when confronted with the reality of SA within their ranks, do some religious leaders choose to minimize and deflect rather than take full responsibility? Some former church members have described Living Word as having a cult-like atmosphere, which Josh Barclay has disputed. But when you look at the pattern of ABUSE, the lack of transparency, and the defensive response to legitimate criticism, you have to wonder if there's some truth to those concerns. Religious institutions play a vital role in many communities, providing spiritual guidance, support, and community. But with that privilege comes enormous responsibility, especially when it comes to protecting the most vulnerable among us. When churches fail to properly vet their leadership, when they prioritize reputation over safety, and when they respond to abuse allegations with defensiveness rather than accountability, they betray the very values they claim to represent. So where do we go from here? First, we need to continue supporting survivors who dare to speak out. Second, we need to demand better from religious institutions: real background checks, clear policies, and genuine accountability when things go wrong. And finally, we need to recognize that this isn't just about one church or one denomination. These problems exist across the religious spectrum, and it's going to take sustained effort from both inside and outside these institutions to create real change. The conviction of James Randolph is a step toward justice, but it's just one step. The real question is whether Living Word Church and other religious institutions will learn from this tragedy and implement the changes necessary to prevent it from happening again. The survivor in this case deserves not just our sympathy, but our commitment to creating a world where children are truly safe in the institutions that claim to care for them. Thank you for watching, and thank you for caring about these important issues. If this video resonated with you, please like and share it. These stories need to be told. And if you or someone you know has experienced abuse, please know that there are resources available to help. I'll see you in the next video.